Happy Saturday, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. It's another beautiful day. It's cold. Hopefully, you are, I don't know, drinking cocoa, staying warm, doing what you got to do to just stay good during these times. Stephanie, Sarah, I'm going to bring you on in a minute, Sarah. I'm really excited because for all of us singles or engaged folks who have yet to walk down the aisle, we are all so anxiously waiting for our husbands. Where is he, Lord? Where is he at? And he can literally be within our midst, but before the divine timing happens or the actual solidification of the relationship, I think it's important for us to have these moments and have this discussion. And Sarah and MJ are the perfect example because they're newlyweds. And we all want to feel that bliss and that excitement of like, oh my God, he chose me. He chose me. Every woman wants to be chosen. And I hope that this conversation is going to be able to resonate. But before I bring you on, Sarah, Dawn, Stephanie, hello and good afternoon. And Sarah, I'm bringing you in now. Oh, and Kaila.
Oh, shoot.
Hey,
Yeah.
what's going on, Erica?
How you guys doing? MJ's
Check this
officially great to officially meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet
Yeah.
you as well. I've heard a lot of fantastic things about you.
Thank you, and I've heard a lot of fantastic things about you too, and I love the glow.
It's
All heart.
all love.
Of course. Let me turn down my Aaliyah because I like to set the mood for love. So Aaliyah's playing in the background, but then I can't hear. So give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, do your thing.
I love this.
Radiating.
Thank you. Listen, so before we go in, Sarah and I are soul sisters. We are part of an amazing prayer group, and every Wednesday we uplift each other and hold each other accountable. So you mean the world to me. You've been there for me on many occasions, and right here. So I don't want to cry because it's all about love right now. So I really value that. I truly do, and I'm happy that your love has come because it's been a journey. So now, before we start, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself, and MJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So good connection. I'm glad that we have, it seems like it's all going well, with the connection wise, so that's good. So a little bit about me. I kind of want to start with my community first because that's such a big part of me. And Erica, like you said, we've been through so much, ups and downs together. Recently it's been virtually since March. But here I moved to New York City, probably 3 years ago. I'm a social worker. I work in a family shelter in East Harlem. I met MJ at undergrad at James Madison University, our senior year. Things that I love getting to explore the city, going to find new foods. I also love, getting to meet new people. So I think something that I love about this city is there's always so many new people to meet. Well, not really right now, but
Right.
In the past, before this, I love getting to catch up with my best friends. I did that this morning with one of my friends, Meredith. Mm-hmm. And, I think something I really miss about our old life that we used to have is just getting to go to new spaces freely. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
Nice job.
It sounds like I'm so bad at the interview question.
Oh, you did a great job.
No, Sarah, you're doing amazing. You did great.
I
was like, yes, I want to get back out.
He's way better at the stuff that I am.
It's not true.
He's very, confidently speaking.
That's not true, but that is actually the perfect, resemblance of who SJ is. So I guess her full name is Sarah Jacob now because I changed her last name, so I'm very proud of that
My
one.
maiden name was
Fun fact, her name used to be, her name was Sarah James back in college, and I guess
my
0 through 24 years old was Sarah James. And my last name is Jacob, which worked out really well because when we first met, so I generally have always gone by MJ, probably since freshman year of high school. So for me, that's like always, it's been like over a decade of that. When I met Sarah, I actually, for whatever reason, like really enjoyed calling her Eshe, which ended up becoming her like official name like in our relationship. And then I found out after the fact that her family also calls her Eshe, which is super cool.
Yeah, it was just a family nickname growing
And
up. So
this is like the perfect sign
so
of like
strange.
I believe in like God can speak through like anything. And even though it's the smallest thing, the fact that I can still call her SJ because her last name is now Jacob worked out like so well. I think I still would have called you SJ regardless, but
yeah, well, it was a sense of my identity for so long, like growing up in my family, and then when he
Right.
started calling me, I was like, that's such like a personal family nickname. But then all of our friends started calling me because they just know us by like MJ and SJ. It's just, you know, what people say.
right.
But
Yeah. That's funny. Oh, Mary, our sister-in-law is actually on this.
back in college.
She said LOL back in college. That's so funny.
I love it.
But yeah, so yeah,
Hi, Mary.
quick introduction to myself. So I grew up, I was born in Alabama, grew up in Northern Virginia for the majority of my life.
It's a way better way of starting.
Not necessarily. You grew up.
I didn't say anything about
Ashley
that.
barely even knows where she was born. Like, I swear her birthplace changes every time I ask her. Like, it's either Smithfield, Maryland, or...
Smithsburg. I know it's somewhere in Maryland, but
yeah, I actually can't believe
go
it.
ahead, keep going.
But anyways, yeah, so I was born in Alabama, lived there for 7 years, Roll Tide Roll. They're in the playoffs right now. So on Monday, there's the national championship. So go out there. And then I lived in Northern Virginia for the majority of my life. So I'd say like from 7 through 23, I went to college in Harrisonburg, Virginia with her, James Madison University. So go Dukes. And yeah, we met our senior year, and it was like one of the funniest things because a lot of our friends gave us, well, my friends specifically at the time, gave me a lot of crap for like meeting SJ my senior year at college. And they were like, who starts dating someone senior year in college? Like, that's not going to work out.
That's you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, where are you going? Like, where are you?
Yeah,
Different directions.
I'm super grateful for a lot of my brothers, like, back in college, because, like, I was able to, like, just chat with them about, like, hey, guys, like, I think I found someone that, like, I really enjoy being around. I really enjoy hanging out with. She's really cute, too. So, like, what should I do in the scenario of, like, we're about to be geographically in different locations? Like, what's the best thing to do here? And it was just super cool because, like, I got so much encouragement of, like, look, God can make anything happen. So take the leap of faith, jump into the relationship. And it was really cool because, like, we got to go to church together a decent amount while we were still at JMU. And, yeah, so fast forward to now, SJ is the reason I ended up moving up to New York City. Only been here for about a year and a half. Hey, shout out SJ. Only been here for about a year and a half so far, but it is cool because, like, just like how SJ started, like, my introduction of, like, passing it over, she's been so supportive of, like, helping me find where I'm supposed to be and, like, where I'm supposed to shine. Like, she somehow was able to identify I belong in New York City before I even knew it. Like, she brought me here. The first couple months were miserable, to be completely transparent. Like,
yeah, he did not like it here
I'll never forget our first weekend here. We literally were doing laundry. We had to take the laundry out on a Sunday. It was a rainy day. We had to physically walk outside, which to me is just crazy because I've never had to do that before. And then SJ put the clothes in the dryer. And I guess I didn't go down with her after putting the clothes in the dryer. We go back to the dryer together. And there's like a do not touch sign or like do not use sign on the dryer. And we're like, what the heck? And we open it up. And half of our clothes are melted.
Yeah.
And like these are like my A game clothes. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, these
no.
are
Clothes
the
were on
clothes that you
fire.
wear on like a
They
weekly
were.
basis. Yeah.
What?
It was
Did they reimburse you?
What was that?
Did the laundromat reimburse you for the faulty dryer?
No, the worst part about
was
it-
definitely my fault.
Yeah.
Like, I was so apparently it was our first week. And you know how every building has a different way of doing laundry? Like, their machines are different. When you get to a new building, you have to learn how their laundry works because every machine is so different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one, they had this slot, and so many of them were out of service all the time because this would happen. But like, they have this slot where you have to take out, you know, the lint, and me doing it for the first time in this building, I was like, where's the lint? Oh, I don't know. You know, let me just throw it in. And apparently it just caught on fire. So
Yeah.
not
And again,
good.
these are
First week of marriage.
these are A game
my laundry.
clothes. So it's like the best.
I know you were mad.
Best clothes.
You know the
best,
A game clothes.
Like I had
Yes.
to wear Monday through Thursday, you know.
I think my
That's
friend
pretty funny.
Leroy just joined. Leroy and I did City Year together. This is also a little bit about me. I'm really, you know, service has been such a huge part of my heart. It actually is like how we met too. MJ and I did a lot of service activities in school together. So that's how I met him. And Leroy was a part of my City Year team. It was through AmeriCorps in DC. A lot happened this week in DC, and I, you know,
Really?
yeah, right. But yeah, I know. I just DC's a very, and our story. His family's from DC too, so just a really big part of our heart. So hi, Leroy. Good to see you.
Yeah. Cool.
I love
That is probably the most scatterbrained
Sorry, Eric.
introduction you've
No,
ever done.
listen, this was a beautiful introduction. I didn't have to ask anything. You like, and that's what I love about like love, you know. It's beautiful when you're with the right person, you know, and I think it just flows. You finish each other's sentences and thoughts, and you just feel each other so much. The fact that that notion or that sign of SJ, you call her SJ, but that's always been her nickname. Like, God has, you know,
which is so beautiful too, because like, not to get biblical out here, but to real quick and biblical, it's so cool to see how many times like Jesus straight up put so much power in a name, like renaming people when they became a new individual recreated in Christ. So like, this is my first time connecting that dot of like, I called it as insignificant as a name, but God showed so many times in the Bible that a name is like one of the most powerful things, like Saul to Paul, like crazy, you know?
Abram to Abraham.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Facts.
Sarah to Sarai, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shout out to the people who read the Bible. All right, so I think this is so beautiful. And before we delve deeper into just getting to know so much more about the two of you, which I'm already loving, hello to everyone coming in, anyone that I've missed. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we are going to just set the space and the tone for love in 2021. All my single folk, I hope you got a pen and paper, take notes, you know, and just feel the ambiance. We're going to be manifesting what we desire this year and learn from two amazing, beautiful souls who inspire each other daily. And it's a beautiful thing just to see how when God brings two people together, he just always makes it flow. And I think sometimes too, when we're thinking about the one, right, that it's going to be perfect and it's going to be amazing and all the angels are going to sing from the heavens and you'll hear it. And then, you know, they're going to roll out a royal carpet to say, this is the one. But the reality is that's not how it is. It's the little signs. It's the different omens. And I want to know, MJ, I know you talked about me in college and that you thought she was special, but how long did you know her at that time? And what was it about SJ that you thought was so admirable?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say it's funny because one of my best friends still to this day introduced us at a library, like my sophomore year of college. Was it sophomore year?
What? No.
Freshman year? Was it senior year? Oh my gosh.
No, junior year.
Junior year? All right. It was one of the years in college.
One of them.
Anyway, I remember, and this is bad advice, but I'm just going to say it. I was in another relationship at that point, and my roommate from college, one of my best friends, introduced me to her, and I just remember like kind of knowing of her, but all I can remember in that moment was like, dang, she's really cute. And like, I didn't like, you know, think much of it other than that moment, but I was like, for whatever reason, like she stuck, and she was like someone that like I like always like thought of as like for whatever reason, like I'll get to know her better, but also like in an extremely platonic way and like all this stuff. So anyways, fast forward a year later, and we're now a part of a few service organizations together. One of them is called Safe Rides, which was really just giving rides to folks on the weekends whenever they may be intoxicated or for whatever reason at all. Like we were just like
just free rides
volunteering that
home.
organization, right?
We're safe.
It was honestly a really cool organization looking back on like what they did. Got a ton of funding from the university, and really just free rides home to anyone, regardless of the situation, no judgment or whatever. Another organization called Alternative Spring Break. The whole concept of that is, of course, in undergrad or any college or any school in general, you get a week of spring break. And for us, we chose to be leaders. And there were so many different types of social injustices, just like there are in the world, like today, as we were talking about DC earlier. Too much going wrong, but we both volunteered times, again, like completely individually. We didn't really know each other as fully at this point, but we just knew that, like, or I knew at that moment I wanted to give back, just because, like, growing up, things were not easy. So when things got easier, I wanted to make things easier for others, as best as I could. So I signed up for this organization. Anyways, we started to connect a lot more at that time, which is super cool because, like, I think both of us had roughly got out of relationships around that time frame. I won't get into like all the details of like all the sausage making there, but the overall point is it was cool because I'll never forget, like, one of the best things I ever heard was like, you know, you're gonna find the one when you're just like heads down running in your lane, like. And like, you're not looking for somebody else. You're just like heads down, running in your lane, doing your thing, doing what God designed you to do. And you're going to look over to your left and to your right and like see who's running with you there. And if they're running right next to you, all right, put your head back down and keep running. Just keep going. And like, look back up, like, 5-6 months later, see if they're still there. And if they're still there, there's a chance that could be someone that could be a potential, mate for the rest of your life, or, soulmate for the rest of your life. So for me, it was super cool because, like, from a passion's perspective, from a serving perspective, from like everything that, like, I would say Jesus embodies, it was super cool because that's what we connected on first, on top of me thinking she was cute. So because of that, it was it was cool. And there was one point where in college there was a super, like, pinnacle moment for me of just like a lot of important things happening at once, and a lot of my core friends and family were there. And at that point, SJ wasn't one of those people yet. So it was cool because when a big event had happened, SJ was one of the first
very
people.
modest.
Well, hold on. Let me finish the story. SJ ran down the bleachers and, like, gave me a huge hug. And in that moment, I was like, wow, like, we connect on so many levels. And I've always enjoyed, like, being around you. And I think that was again, I believe in signs like crazy from God. And that was like a huge, clear sign from God being like, this is someone you're going to pursue. And, like, we'll see what ends up happening. And thankfully, we both have rings now. So it worked out decently well.
You like it, should have put a ring on it.
I got a pretty dull black ring that's, like, so scratched up at this point. But, it is what it is.
Listen, you're wearing it. It's strong. Sarah, where's yours? Let me see it again.
I actually wear this rubber ring that my sister-in-law, Mary, I think she was earlier on here, or still, but she, she was like, hey, these are fun to work out in, like, they help, and not that I work out every day or even close to every day, but, it's something easy that, like, if I do, like, I don't have to worry about, like, something happening, but yeah, so it's also, so silicone rings, I definitely recommend them.
Right, but her real ring is fire. Okay.
Her real ring is fire.
Her real ring is fire.
That was a lot of research. It was fun.
Okay. Wait. So MJ, I want to hear about that because I want to hear about the process. Like, all right, so you meet, you go through all of that. The signs are there, all these cute little references. Okay, and then
with the pen.
When did you know? Because there's a difference between proposing and knowing. Like, when did you know she was the one? And I also want to ask this, the other part of the question. Were there any elements of self-doubt or questioning God through self-sabotage before getting to, like, before officially making that real connection and solidifying, one, your relationship, and then two, your engagement? Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah, the first part for sure makes sense. So let me just do that one first, and then I'll probably need you to re-ask the second part because I'm sure I'll forget regardless by that point. So the first question, absolutely, and this one was super cool because, like, again, like, keep going back to the motif of, like, I genuinely believe, like, when you're like, I don't know, just fully in line with God, the level of discernment that you're able to have is on another level. And it's just super cool because, like, you know, God's going to love us the same no matter what. But it's super cool to see how the clouds start to separate as far as, like, you can see the vision way more clear when you're, like, fully committing and, like, fully, like, allowing yourself to get to know God better even more. You get to know, like, what your future is supposed to be, where you're intended to be even more. So anyways, it was super cool because, like, for me, I was still in Northern Virginia, had a job opportunity pop up, and SJ was like, you got to take this opportunity with, like, full force. And I was like, this is hard because I wanted to move to New York and be with you. But if I take this opportunity, I'm going to have to go to Pittsburgh. And that in general was just crazy because, like, for me, again, like, this was like a dream job opportunity for me. And I was like, I've always wanted to do this, but I don't want to even, like, consider the fact that, like, I would have to do another year of long distance because we were already long distance. She was in New York. I was in Virginia. Even further long distance, to be honest, because Pittsburgh to New York, I love Pittsburgh, don't get me wrong, but, like, it is hard to get anywhere from Pittsburgh. You got to fly because the drive is like 8 or 9 hours to get up to New York. So it's like, all right, it's going to be even harder to get to New York because it was 4 hours from DC to New York, and all these other variables. So anyways, I ended up taking the opportunity and, like, super grateful for what ended up coming out of it. But it was just incredible because, like, in that year that I was there, it was, like, probably one of the hardest years of my life. And through that, SJ was, like, by far the strongest pillar that I've ever had, like, in general. And it was just, like, crazy to see the things she did for me, like, while I was, like, in Pittsburgh, and, like, the trip she would make to come visit me. I had to get surgery on my pec for some bad decisions I had. Tore my pec back in February of last year, 2018. She came in right after I got surgery, like, made sure that I was fully good when I didn't have a community really at all in Pittsburgh to, like, help me out because all my community was back in Northern Virginia. And so all of that was really, like, really powerful and, like, really, like, helpful to, like, help me understand she is my better half. But I think the clear moment in my head that I'll never forget was actually at her sister's wedding. Like, actually, I've heard this story 1,000 times, but I love to share it because, like, I think it's super powerful in the sense of, like, going back to that lane analogy. Like, I genuinely believe God has wired people to do certain things in life. And, you know, the more more time you invest with God, the more doors he'll open for you, whatever it may be. And it was super cool because I actually was recording. I was the videographer for SJ's sister's wedding. And we were at this wedding. I was interviewing her sister at this time. It was either her sister or her now husband. But the important point is it's someone that was very crucial to the wedding. Like, you don't want to take this person away from the wedding, but I took them away from the reception room and I'm interviewing them for like 5-10 minutes. And in that moment, I forgot my camera lens, like the lens I needed in the other room, which was, like, you know, a 10-minute, like, walk away from me, and I would have to find it and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, now I'm taking this person away for 20 minutes, which, again, to the average person, that's not the biggest crisis ever. But to me, in that moment, like, I had a job to fulfill and make sure I do a good job with this video and make sure I don't take this person away for too long. So I stressed it out a lot. And the second I realized I forgot my lens, I ran to the door of the room I was in, opened it up, and, like, there was SJ, like, standing right there, and she was holding the camera lens.
Sounds a little creepy, but I promise.
No, it's
literally
it's divinity. I love that.
Literally holding the exact. I mean, not the. It was the only lens that was there, but she was holding the camera lens, and, like, it was one of the most like angelic moments because it's a wedding. So SJ was, like, a bridesmaid, and she was in her entire bridesmaid, like, outfit, had her hair done and, like, her makeup done and everything. Even though without makeup, she's still completely gorgeous. But
Yes, you are, Sarah.
It was that moment that you described, Erica, of, like, you know, maybe when we first met, the red carpet wasn't out, but in that moment, the red carpet was out, and I was like, whoa. Like, not only are you, like, really gorgeous, but you're also helping. You were selfless enough to leave where you were to help me accomplish a goal that, you know, I was working on. Oh, wait, what else can you expect from a partner in life? Because that's going to happen for the rest of your life. We're both going to have our own goals. We're both going to have our own ambitions or whatever. If that's not a mini sign from God that that's, like, going to be the rest of life, then I don't know what is, you know? So, like, I would say if I could pinpoint a moment, you know, there are several, but that's the one that, like, stuck out the most, I would say.
Wow, that's beautiful. What was it for you, Sarah? What was that thing that was like MJ is the one?
Oh my gosh, I have so many of them, but in my wedding vows, I actually talked about this. I love journaling. That's something that is so close to my heart, especially prayer journaling.
Mm-hmm.
So MJ actually was the one that gave me my first journal back in, like, it was February of 2016. I remember this very clear. And like my first passage in it, what I wrote was like, I remember when my dad said, like, when you know, you know, and I like 100% know this is my person. This was when we were just friends. Hi Sarah, love you too. And I was like, but we were like, you know, talking, dating, like going on dates and everything, and we were, you know, like trying to take it very seriously, and like very intentional. And so I remember writing that because I 1000% knew, and I think I knew because, you know, like he immediately felt like my best friend, and he was just everybody he talked to, he would, you know, like if you know him, he's like the most charming person. He's so funny, he's so full of life. He comes from, you know, like a story that could have broken a lot of people, but he came out so much stronger because of it. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional because I love him so much. But
this is what it's about. And
yeah,
I'm like, I'm feeling it. Go ahead,
I'm
Sarah.
about to start crying too. We're about to
You're about
have
to
there's
cry.
so
no one's
many
gonna be talking.
moments.
This is gonna be crying.
I know. There's also like his love for hip hop actually brought us kind of close together too.
That's true.
Have always loved hip hop, and actually MJ, he kind of took a break for a long time until like we started becoming friends again. He was like, oh my gosh, like I love your sense of music. I love hip hop too. And so he started showing me these old rap videos of him like when he was a teenager, and that was his way. I'm not gonna like take these words from him, but just, you know, like he told me that was his way of, you know, his journaling way. Like it was his way of healing. It was his way from healing from his trauma, and I'm sure still is, but you know, and just like that open aspect, and then just seeing him serve, that is so close to my heart. Service again, like has always been a part of my heart. I was like a Girl Scout from like age 6 to age 18, and then like my entire life has just been, you know, like that's something God I know has directed me towards. And like social work, woo. But other,
I love it.
yes, other than that, so like through service, through seeing him interact with other people, and then honestly through his family. His family is such, they're so beautiful. I love his family so much, and just seeing like the way they love each other and like how they have come together to overcome so much. Like it was so beautiful, and I am always honored to be, you know, family members with them. So those moments, you know, just like, I guess, yeah, that's why I wrote it. And then I got to read that to him during my wedding vows, because it just goes to show you, like, when you think, like, you know, like, go with your gut, because there's a reason you're feeling that way. And it's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It's because, you know, like, it does happen. And there's those moments when you don't, like, if you're not experiencing it, you, like, don't really believe it. You're like, how is that possible? But, you know, it takes, like, it happening for you to believe in those cliches, because, you know, they do come to life.
Yes. I love that. And there was something that you said, because I'm going to cry too. Because I always,
you know, I'm so emotional.
Oh my God. Okay, so I always envisioned like my love story being related around music, right? I love music. And I can just see me and my soulmate just going back and forth, and like, so I mean, and I love hip hop too. Like I love a lot of like the old, like the 90s hip hop, Tribe Called Quest, like early Wu-Tang, you know, Redman and Method. Like I love all of that. So I want to ask you, this is just like me, just entertain me for a moment, okay? What were some of the songs that brought you two together? Like you going back and forth, like, oh, that's my joint. What,
Oh
like
my
what?
gosh.
What
Honestly, our first, like when we were just being, like when we were just friends, I think this is in December of that year before we started dating. So December of 2015. I was just like, hey, Amjad, do you want to go to this concert with me in DC? It was at a pretty known like concert venue in DC, which I think is now closed. 930 Club. Unfortunately, I have so many memories there, so rest in peace, 930 Club. But I was like, MJ, like, let's go to this concert by Eric Bellinger, who is very, like, not a lot of people know about him. But do you know him?
I know. Okay, I don't follow his music. But I'm more of a Ryan Leslie kind of girl. Okay. But I do know of Eric Bellinger. So
he's got a song with what's his name?
A lot of
Fetty Wap, who made that "Baby Girl, You're So Dang Fine." Though.
To be honest, I don't listen to him now, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it was like something at the time where I was like, this could be fun to do. So we went to this concert. It was so much fun. And then we just got Ethiopian food after. And it was
okay, really quickly. Oh my God, you just triggered something. I've always wanted to go on a date and have Ethiopian food. Of course, New York is full of restaurants. But I love the idea because in my mind, my goal is to eventually become vegetarian because God's been dealing with me with some things. And I'm like, but I love food. Like, you can't tell me to not eat meat. So I'm having this struggle. But one of the biggest things is that I've always wanted to, like, I can see me and my man going to, hey, let's do Ethiopian, like, to kind of get into vegan mode. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. But I also think, like, Hoodie Allen, and this is another wild thing too that happened. MJ and I, when we first started, becoming friends, it was, we found out we both liked this rapper called Hoodie Allen, and it turned out that we were both at the same Hoodie Allen concert a year before we knew each other, and this was in Baltimore, so like pretty far away from like where we were going to school. It was just so random that we were both like, we found out we were both there in the same concert venue. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that was just, like in the beginning, I feel like it is a lot about science. It is a lot about pointing something to the right direction. It is a lot about, gaining that confidence that this is your person, because you need that. Like, you need those moments, because how else are you going to, continue with that person? Like, you need the reassuring signs. And that one, that one's just a silly one, but, a lot of like the ones that mean a lot are like about their character. So I think just even knowing that we were at the same concert at the same time, I knew he was fun. I knew he loved to go to concerts, which is something I love to do. So I think that rapper, again, we don't really listen to him now, but it only has morphed into like I love like coming home and us agreeing on the same thing to put on, like on our, like small things like that mean a lot.
Wait, are you two matching? Is it like dark gray and light gray? Is that what I'm seeing?
I think.
Was that?
Oh my! We are rocking a girl outfit right now, accidentally.
Okay.
But
I loved it. I love all of that because it's so nostalgic. Because I mean, again, I'm single, and I know a few people in here are hopeful to find the one. And my biggest thing is I never wanted to settle in myself. I never wanted to settle, and like I'm big on signs as well. So I'm like,
yes, I know you are.
And I'm like, God, is that a sign? Like, but at the same time, it's hard because, people that we might have thought were the one didn't end up being the one.
Right.
And so I'm at a place where, like you were saying earlier, MJ, where I'm just so focused on like my creating, being in God's space. You know how it is as an artist, you just have to be in that creative space to allow him to just do all the work, because you can't control anything. You can just control your personal space. So that's where I've been, and
it's a good place to be.
And you've been doing that so much this year, Erica. I mean, like, you, like, even with your show that you've been doing, but the past couple years that I've known you, you've just grown from like chapter to chapter to chapter. And I know that you are in your lane. Like, when he was talking about that, you were head down in your lane right now, running. And it's so amazing to see you do this because you're so committed. And I remember you talking about the show, like, our timeline is not God's timeline, and we know that. So, like, when you first started talking about it, you went through so many rough patches. And I think he was just kind of watering the seed that is, now, like, your lane that you're just running in.
Okay, I'm going to cry again. Thank you.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
And real quick, Erica, if you don't mind, I was actually just gonna touch on that hip hop comment, not on the artist perspective, but like from a like little thing. Like, I mean, again, God works through everything, even the little things. And I think a lot of the things I talked about that were the big things were essentially little things, like the little name thing, the camera lens. But this is another little thing that God made huge because through like broken relationships and things in general, like I doubted myself a lot in college in terms of like even wanting to continue to be a hip hop artist myself. And like it's a very funny and like such a like a lighthearted question that you asked, but like in reality, like that was, you know, growing up for me, hip hop was part of my identity, you know, because like I didn't grow up with the easiest childhood, so it is what it is. But like hip hop and being able to write down my emotions, how I was feeling, how, you know, it was kind of me against the world kind of feelings at those times. Being able to write that down was the only therapy that I could ever have in that moment, you know, in terms of like, I believed God existed when I was a kid, but it was just like, it's a lot harder being 12 and praying to God versus like being now 27 praying to God, knowing how important the relationship is. You just don't fully comprehend everything. So like, it was such an important part of my life. So in the few years that I started to like just give up hip hop, SJ came back into my life, or came into my life for the first time. And we started listening to hip hop together. And it was just like the funniest thing to see her, you know, I'll throw the demographics out there, a little white girl listening to like Future or like, you know, Chris Brown, like all these artists who aren't necessarily the, you know, the best influencers in the world, but from an overall perspective of like, this is, in my perspective, dope hip hop, like I want to listen to this or whatever.
Also, Trey Songz for Life.
Trey Songz for Life. Trey Songz is a better example than Chris Brown. That's facts. But but like overall, it was just super cool because like, again, little thing, but that was one of the biggest elements of our relationship of like, again, like her being able to like somehow be exactly what God wired me to be with, in a sense of like, not only is she gonna like be able to support you, but she's gonna be able to like love the things that you love independently that are little things. Because if you really break it down, marriage is gonna be a long time. You know what I mean? Like ideally, you're with that person for 20, 30, however many years you're supposed to be with them. But even like 1 year is a long time. So like the honeymoon phase is a real thing. And I believe we're going to be in the honeymoon phase forever. It just is what it is. But that being said,
someone gave us that.
That being said, yeah, nothing under the sun has been created or
no, but
created.
They did say like, I don't believe in this. One of our friends.
Yeah, no,
to
I
be
agree.
honest, I do forget who it was, but they were like, don't believe in the honeymoon phase because that should just be your entire marriage. Like, that's literally telling you you're going to have fun and then not have fun anymore.
Right.
And it's just like, why would you want to already set yourself up for, you know, those moments when
Totally.
Language, naming, so important.
Right.
I love that. Set the pace. Go ahead, MJ.
Yeah, and the last point I was going to say real quick was like, I think the most important thing in my opinion is like don't remiss the little things, because you got to think about it. Like the little things that you enjoy, that you like doing on a daily basis, you're going to want to continue to do those on a daily basis, or at least continue to do things in that like realm of things. So if you really like hip hop music, music's a big deal. So if that other person can tolerate it and they don't love it, that's fine. But if they hate hip hop music, it literally wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have. I kid you not, it wouldn't have worked. And in a weird way, but that's God working in the way that he does.
Like you have colors and like you
right.
don't realize what is so important to you until it's gone. Right. And like that was gone from his life. And I think he felt some dehydration from that. But even like right now, an example, we're watching Meek Mill's like documentary that was put out, you know, and you know, a lot of it's talking about mass incarceration. And so I think through like his love for hip hop and my love for hip hop, we were able to have these conversations that constantly need to happen in marriages, especially like even being in an interracial marriage. This is something that he's always checking me on. He is a brown man, but you know, other than that,
you light skin. You just light skin, Sarah.
Love that. Love
toned
that.
down, you know, filtered. Yeah, but you know, I think just even combining like as a white woman, you know, marrying into a brown family, they've like loved me, welcomed me in. But a large part of why I fell in love with him was just, our conversations that we've had, and we've had them very openly. And then just even like watching the documentary, like I did not know, like I try my best to, educate myself as much as I can, but even in the documentary, they talked about mass supervision. And so even talking about, like this, this phrase I've never heard about, but, that we just, mass supervision is probation. So apparently, like, like there's mass incarceration, but even like there's more people under mass supervision on probation. That is also, like you are not free that way either.
Yep.
So even this documentary that we love because of hip hop and Meek Mill comes this communication that we have openly about having conversations around these topics. So yeah, just another reason why,
Right.
I just love having a partner that is constantly pushing me to be a better person and vice versa.
I love that. And that's like the biggest thing about the whole helpmate. And I'm really big about, I consider it twin flames. Some people call it soulmates. But when you allow God to work on you and you're on your mission, you're literally meeting your reflection. You're literally meeting the other half of you. So when you were talking about the honeymoon phase, it's not a phase. It is lifelong, because as long as you're staying in your space of staying connected to God individually and together and being on your mission, I mean, you are the same person. MJ feels when SJ's not feeling well, vice versa. Babe, I thought about you and I got this for you. I'm like, oh my God, I thought about that earlier today, babe. How did you know? Like, I'm you and you're me. Like, that's how you know. And it's not an easy thing, but for people, again, who are, I feel like 2020 going to 2021 has been a spiritual awakening on so many levels. We love God, but we got closer to God. You get me?
Oh, yeah.
And for those of us that he's preparing for marriage, what is like maybe the biggest tip or suggestion in, I know you said focus on your goals and your dreams, MJ, but what's something else that you two would suggest for that person that knows or feels that they're in that space to receive?
Right. You want to go ahead?
So let me just repeat the question so I know I understand it. What are tips for people when they're preparing for, before that person is even in their life or before they know that person? Are you saying like what makes them prepared to receive love?
Just speak what's on your spirit. Something like that. Yes, what's on your heart.
Wait, what
Go
was
ahead,
it, Erica?
Huh?
What did you say?
I said speak what's on your heart, because listen, half the times I write down notes. I just come up with questions as I go.
Oh.
But what I was trying to say is, for a person who God is preparing to be in that space to receive the one, what are some tips that you would give in order for them to be prepared?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah. I don't necessarily have the answer, but I saw her face and I was like, you know what? Let's see what we can freestyle on this one.
My mind was a big, like tangled mess right there.
No, I think like these are just going to be facts right here. Like in my opinion, like these are like the check boxes that have to happen. When you're about to get into the most important relationship of your life, like I would say for me the biggest thing that I did was like audit my relationships around me to make sure that when I'm getting into the most important decision making steps I'm about to have, that I've got iron around me to sharpen me in those moments, right? Like in that year that I was getting ready to get proposed is when I was talking to my best friends on a bi-weekly, weekly, almost daily basis with some people, just being like, hey, this is where my head's at. This is how I'm feeling. We thought about this. We had a great conversation about this. Just full transparency out there. Because at the end of the day, like, God created us to be relational, and like this relationship is so important. But in order to get this relationship, in order to get like the relationship with God, like it's called out so many times. you have to be in community. You have to be with your brothers. You have to be with your sisters and be able to be completely transparent and vulnerable because like not only is accountability huge, like being able to like make sure that like you're not doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but also like making sure that you're protecting your heart, not protecting her heart. Like those things are so important, number one. But number two, I just think there's like also like so much of just like remembering to like enjoy the little moments too, because like in a weird way, planning for an engagement can be extremely stressful. You know what I mean? So like even for myself, like talking to like some friends of like, you know, starting up the conversation and like I'm speaking for 10 minutes about the stress or like anxiety I may be feeling in that moment, and then being like yo, take a step back. You're about to ask the most important question to the most important person in the world. Like you should be like jumping for joy and like, wait a second, like what am I doing? Of course I should be, you know? So like that's like a 100% step number one. If you're not in community in that moment and you're about to make the biggest decision of your life, you probably should slow down just a little bit and get things in order to like make sure. I mean, it's not even like if I wasn't in community and I made this decision, would I have been like, you know, remiss in any way? No, not at all. I know God like designed us to be together, but at the same time, I think it did help a lot for my own sanity and like honestly for her, the execution. I would say she had one of the best engagements out there at this point, so I was very happy with how it worked out.
Right. Hold on, MJ, pat yourself on the back. Tell me, set the mood, set the scene. We gotta feel it. What you do, MJ?
So check this out.
All right.
So, like we talked about earlier, we all love hip hop, which is awesome. I also am a hip hop artist. I go by MJX Music. Super fun stuff. I really enjoy it. I had staged this. I didn't stage it. I was headlining a concert, my first concert ever. Yeah, go ahead. I was headlining my first concert ever, and that was the perfect like cover up of the actual engagement day because I was planning on getting engaged earlier that day. And that was the main priority for me. You know what I mean? I wasn't even sweating the fact that this was like, you know, a 250 person concert. Like that was like the back of my mind. I was like, all right, I got to do whatever it takes to make sure this engagement goes as well as possible. So one of my best friends, his name's Dan. He doesn't own. He one day will own, but he's one step underneath the CEO at this winery. And we were able to work together on like getting a private room with like this like huge like gorgeous like chandelier like right in the middle, but it was private just for like us immediate friends and family. So I had about 30 to 35 of our closest immediate family members, best friends, whatever it may be, and in the meantime, while I was there like all suited up, you know, rose petals and everything, like all set up, all the candles and everything, my friends and my family on one side, her friends and her family on one side. Of course, like we're all like one big family, but it was like super symbolic. I had her thinking all of this stuff was happening like for the concert later that day. She had no idea we were at the winery, and her and two of our best friends, they were out at brunch drinking mimosas. They went out to go get their nails done. And they had this idea, of course, like I was talking to these two girls, Mia and Meredith, who are like our best friends. They knew about the entire plan the entire time. And they were like, let's stop by the winery to see what's going on there. Like, maybe we can grab a glass. So she has no idea what's going on. At this point, she's like a few mimosas.
Okay, let's go, girl.
Yeah, so she's having a good time. But anyways, like, little did she know, you know, she's walking up these stairs, and again, there's 35 people. It's complete silence. And my boy Roshan, another one of my best friends, he hits the play button. It's Kina Grandes playing "Can't Help Falling in Love." The guitar starts strumming, and like she hits it right there. And she like looks at me and just like immediately starts crying to the point where like she hits the ground. Like she was supposed to walk down the aisle of flowers to come to me, and I had to literally walk to her and grab her and like bring her to the middle. But it was so sweet because it was like the most genuine reaction that could have happened in that moment. Like there was not a sign in her mind that she knew what was going on. So it was like the coolest thing because there's so many variables that could have gone wrong. People were coming in from New York. She was on the same bus as her friends coming in from New York. So thank God for that concert because they were
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, maybe we were gonna go to the concert or whatever. So that from an
That
advice
is
perspective,
amazing. Like, that's so dope.
from an
Like,
advice
what? Like,
perspective,
it's so dope.
right?
Oh my God. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, for sure. From an advice perspective, if you are the one proposing, make sure you have a cover up if all things goes wrong. If you want to make a surprise, I understand like not everybody wants to do that, but if you want to make it a surprise, make sure there's a cover up, because like I have a firm belief in like what can go wrong will go wrong. So cover that thing up just in case. And thank God that was there, because again, like if that wasn't, I feel like there was nothing that like they could have talked their way out of. Maybe they did, but anyways, yeah, that was that moment. That was that mood. There's actually a video on, I think it's on your Instagram at some point, if you want to check it out. I think it's like, what, 2 years ago? So you have to scroll down a little bit.
December 22nd, 2018.
And listen, I remember all of that because we were in prayer group through the whole time. So
right.
We had many discussions. And so now, I mean, I met you through IG, but to see you virtually at least, you know, it's a pleasure to definitely finally meet you, MJ.
Oh, right.
And
I got you, Erica, for sure.
Erica,
It's cool to hear it's really cool to see you doing your thing.
Yes.
Hear about you doing your thing, and Ashley is always like on a weekly basis saying your name. So it's good to meet you virtually as well.
Oh yeah, I think it was all of our small group sisters. But to speaking about your point, like I do remember you and Kara, you know, like you were part of that.
Really quickly, we have about 8 minutes left, and I can sit here and talk to you all day about love because I want to. Like, we might have to do a part 2 of this, okay?
Yes.
For another time, but I just want to keep track of time. But go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I remember, you know, him speaking about community and making sure you're in community. I do remember, like, Kara gave us these prayer journals with Stephanie. And I just remember writing down in it, I think it was in October, it was like or November, like a month before the engagement happened. I was like, we're long distance, like I really miss him. I have no idea when our long distance is going to end. Like, I hope we create a plan. You know, I just felt very lost and sad. And I remember all of you like reading it out loud. And I just remember all of you girls, like the month after I told you guys what happened, you're like, that was prayer, like look at God's work. And it was so beautiful because I will forever have that journal where I saw a prayer come to life. And that's why I'm so big on prayer journaling, because it is so incredible to see the things you write down and you pray for, you know, and like you're like, I did pray for that. It's right here in this journal and this page.
I have proof.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And MJ, I was telling Sarah, we have about maybe 5 minutes left.
Cool.
And I guess, I mean, MJ, you talked about what led up to you. Sarah, how did you feel at the engagement and at your wedding day? Like, what was that bliss like? What was all of it like?
Yeah, I think the engagement day was one of the most exciting and one of the most like overwhelming days. Not one of the most, clearly the most overwhelming day of my life, because like looking back on it, like it was just like ridiculous to think about everything that was going on, right? Like this is December 22nd. My birthday is the next day. Christmas Eve was the day after that. Christmas is the day after that. That's like the surface level stuff, you know what I mean? And like underneath that, you know, there's also like my first headlining concert. Again,
right,
a surface level thing. Underneath that, I'm about to ask, again, the most important question of my life. And there's so many variables that could have gone wrong. You know, because again, 35 people, that's a lot of people to send one accidental text to SJ saying like, hey, I can't make it, or hey, something's going wrong, or like whatever. So it was crazy the amount of obstacles that were there. But I will have to say, like, the way I said overwhelming, like the level of excitement was right on that same page. Like it was just like one of the most exciting moments where like all I could think about was like, this is gonna be, and this has got to be successful, and like God's working in this moment. So like, even though there are things that are gonna go wrong and can go wrong, like I think this is gonna be, you know, ideally the exact proposal that she was looking for, and that was the end goal, right? Like it wasn't even like about me, it wasn't about the audience, it wasn't about other people thought. It was like, what is the exact thing that SJ would want in a proposal, and how do I make that happen? And it was just crazy because, like, I kid you not, I wouldn't have changed one detail about that engagement. And I think that's such a blessing to be able to say that, because there's so many things in my life where I feel like I would change one or two things, but that's like one you really only get engaged once, like, assuming that, yeah, exactly, knock on wood, not for us, but I understand things happen in life or whatever it may be. But it's just crazy because I know that, like, that's the one chance that I get to do something like that. And I'm so grateful to know that, like, between the two of us, like, neither of us are changing things. So yeah, utmost excitement, utmost overwhelming. And at the same time, I think, it's the cheesy quote of life begins where your comfort zone ends. Like, I was living life that day. Like, I'll leave it
You're on that natural high. Yes.
Right.
Because I can only imagine, like she said, yes, and then you get to perform and, like, you're high off of that. And it's.
Oh, my God. I slept so well that night. Like, it was a lot of energy. But
yeah, I mean, the wedding, was so beautiful, but I think that was the one day where I was just completely caught by surprise. And I'm a firm believer that your wedding day is not meant to be your best day of your life. Like, if that was the case, what are you going to look forward to the rest of your life, So I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on their wedding day. I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on a marriage being the center of their happiness. And I guess that's a very long conversation in itself, but he's not meant to save me, right? Like, he's not meant to be he is a part of my joy, but he's not meant to be my joy that, like, gets me up every day. He's not, like, it's incredible that I did find someone that makes me so happy, but if I just relied on him to do that, I would be so lost, and would be so unfair to put on a partner. So again, like, God has helped us so much that way, because it's not every day, and we have to remind each other of it always, because we are always failing at this. But, just to, like, when we're putting that pressure on each other so much to make each other happy, like, we have to point each other back to, what will make us happy, which is Jesus. And that's a, like, very long conversation itself, but I think, throughout life, hopefully we'll continue pointing each other back to, the triangle, and continue from there.
Yeah, I completely agree with what she said. And, like, the last, like, mini point I'll just say is, like, on the wedding day itself, I think it's so important for people to just remember that wedding day, just like I said about the engagement, is about you too. It's not about the other people that are going. It's not about your family, your aunties, your uncles, whoever it may be. Like, it's great that they can be there, but that day is about y'all. Because that is one thing that I think, throughout the planning process and throughout even the wedding day itself, there's so many, like, expectations of, like, are they having fun, or are they, like, enjoying their food, or are they, like, thinking this is the best wedding ever, where it's, like, in reality, it's like, that is not the important pieces here. The important pieces is, like, her, and that's it, and vice versa. And that's one thing that people told me before the wedding. And also I will tell to others before their wedding, because that was the best advice I ever heard. And also advice I wish I could take more of, like, in retrospect, but it is what it is. And I think, like, I am, like, grateful for, like, the things that we were able to experience together. But yeah, the wedding day is about you two, and, like forming that bond that God wants to happen in one of the most beautiful ways that is, like, possible. So,
This was such a beautiful conversation, and it's just, like, it's charging me up energetically in the most beautiful way, because that's one thing, MJ. It's not easy being a woman. We are emotional, and I had an emotional day yesterday for no reason. Like, when you think about the emotions, you're like, wow, what's that?
Nothing really happened.
He knows that very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for understanding that.
Being, women, we can have so many different feelings in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Every day, and
it's not easy being a female. It's really not. And I appreciate this conversation, because it's really helped to confirm a lot of the things that I was feeling yesterday and talking to God about. And I'm so appreciative of you two, and I just want to see you two have little beige babies running around. You know what I'm saying? Musically inclined, like all of that, and keeping God at the forefront. And for everyone, follow MJ. I'm gonna put his handle in this live afterwards, but go ahead and say it real quick.
Yeah, it's MJX Music.
Yes, MJX Music. Yeah. And listen, he's dope. He reminds me of, like, a Mos Def / Macklemore. You remind me of
Wow.
Mo Macklemore.
Wow, that is a compliment. I'll take that. Wings by Macklemore was one of my favorite songs, and Mos Def just like they are OGs as well. So it's just one of those things where I appreciate that a lot.
Erica, that's
Infinitely. And Sarah is an amazing counselor. And if you need help, if you need some help or guidance, you need to talk to somebody.
yes, I can point you in that direction. Mental health is so important.
She's like, don't talk to me. I'll tell you where to go. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying like, yeah, mental health is so important. Please take care of yourselves. I am in therapy. Anybody can benefit from therapy. So we constantly talk about our mental health, and especially right now, please take care of yourselves. There's so much happening every day. Learn when to log off and to shut it down, because that, just protecting your heart and your mind and your soul is so important.
I love this. Listen, you two are going to come back on. So we got through the meet and the engagement and the engagement and the wedding day. What we're going to talk about another time, I'm going to talk to Sarah about, and you're just going to come on, MJ, because she's going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you both. I love you both. And thank you all for tuning into Single Saturdays. This was so cathartic. I love it.
Erica. This was
Shout out to
this
Erica.
Was a very fun Instagram Live.
This was
so I
our
really
first time
appreciate
ever
that.
doing something like this too, and it's really special to us. So thank you so much, Erica.
You're welcome. You'll be back on, okay? Love you.
Love you.
Love you always.
Bye,
See ya.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.